technology for it, and I want to show you what they did. They literally placed the actors inside of a cube of light. Sorry. And the DOP Lubetsky, he worked with Squadron for several movies before, and he was very he played a vital role in inventing the system. He said this LED monitor surrounding the actor is literally like a huge television screen, folded and turned inside out and folded around the actors, and so all the information images that you put into this monitor lights the actor, and you can put all input of the scenes that were pre-visualized to create the movie and all the environments that we had created, and you can input them into this large cube. So space itself is moving around the actors. So it's interesting, or it's really important to know that how they shot this movie. Nothing in this movie is actually really filmed but the faces of the actors. And all the rest that you see in this movie is completely computer generated. And they had this problem. It's very difficult to do compositing in a realistic way, to combine real action footage with with CGI. And the most obvious problem is the lighting to make it match. And that was their starting point. And they thought, okay, what can we do? Because everything is going to be CG. Well, how can we light the actors' faces in a way that it will match the lighting of our computer-generated scene? So they thought, okay, let's project something on their faces, and that's how they got there. And then also there were several other problems they faced, because like, how can we, if we move the camera through space, like floating in zero gravity, how do we move the actors? It will always look fake, because here they are bound to gravity. So literally, can you hear me? No? Alô? Agora? Okay. No problem. I hope it's not so boring for the audience. So, yeah, so literally what they did, they placed, they kind of projected everything they had created before in the computer back into the physical world, put the actors inside this space or cave or whatever they built, and then filmed them in there in order to put them back, what they filmed into the CG space and combine it there. So this is the feedback loop I was talking about right there. And it led them to create these immersive spaces, or like these immersive experiences of us floating in space with them. Otherwise it would have been impossible. So I'm going to show some pictures of the production. What they also did, basically they projected back the information from the virtual space into the physical space in several ways. They had this robot, which is actually a car assembling robot from Germany. They put the camera on that robot and had that robot steer the camera. Here you can see it. And they had this light box which actually projected the light. So the robot was moving the camera, the light box was moving the light, and the tilt rig, you can see it here, the actors are in this kind of little cage down there where they're standing in. It's also a rig, and it's animated by a robot. So they didn't even move themselves. Like, the bodies of the actors were moved in a pre-designed CG, like they had designed the movement before in the computer, and then they moved the actors with the robot in order to make sure that everything matched together. This is some kind of previs they did in order to actually plan out such a scene. You can see this is highly technical. It's literally using product design technologies, architecture, computer science, robotics, in order to create a visual experience. So it's highly highly interdisciplinary. So what does this lightbox represent? Why is this so special? The lightbox stands paradigmatically for the extroversion of the virtual space back into the physical reality. And that literally points into augmented reality, what we are seeing coming now. The actors in the lightbox are placed and transplanted into an immersive environment themselves. That's actually what they realized where they shot the movie, that once these actors were inside this lightbox, they got immersed in the scene, because usually when you shoot before green screen or in front of green screen, the actors have to imagine all that stuff that's going on around them. And so they were literally, I mean, they could see where they were in space. Here you can see it is up there. And here we can observe the nesting of physical and virtual space as a multiple feedback loop, which leads to the creation of super elevated immersive experience spaces. And a feedback built up of immersive spatial experiences, like in a video feedback. It's literally the nesting of the projection between physical and virtual space in several instances. It's like the visualization. Some of you might have seen Interstellar. In the end, there is this visualization of the n-dimensional space, the tesseract. That is literally a visualization of this production technique. So in here is how this feedback loop is literally created. I'm going to finish soon. The data, as in video content and metadata, are gathered in physical space and digitized. Then the data, video data and metadata, are projected into the virtual space. There they are transformed and designed and optimized. And later all the data is projected back into the physical space. So I'd like to conclude. I discussed information technology as a basis for the creation of speculative spaces and speculative experiences of space, which I call algorithmic spaces or realms. And I pointed out that artistic scientific research on the latest technologies and probing them as design tools lead to the creation of completely new mixed reality spaces of experience. And what can I tell you? Those processes are very, very interdisciplinary, to get back to where I started, and allow for even more entangled and interdisciplinary approach to the creation of immersive spaces. And I think where this all leads to what the next steps are, basically I presented you the like kind of the basis of my research, what I'm looking into right now. The next steps obviously are, what does all this mean for virtual realities and augmented realities, and how do these technologies now, how can they be used now to create new spaces of immersive experience, and what do they mean for the production processes of several disciplines, because they start overlapping. So yeah, that is my research, what I'm working on, and thank you very much for the oh, really? Here we are. No. Here we are. Thanks very much for listening. And yeah, if you have any questions, I'm happy to take them now. If we have time or later, I'm very happy to discuss individually. Thanks.
Bom, obrigado, Alexander, pela sua fala. E agora a gente abre para quem tiver perguntas, comentários a respeito da apresentação. A gente não tem tanto tempo porque vamos entrar no horário do almoço e retornamos a 1h30. Tá. A gente atrasou um pouquinho para começar, então a gente dá uma empurrada também. Acho que a Krista.
Thank you, Alexander, for this nice talk. I was wondering, are there some information about how it felt for George Clooney and the other actors to be in this movie? Is there some kind of interviews, or did they give feedback on what this kind of new technology meant for them?
Yes, there are. It's only little snippets because all the making ofs heavily focused on the technology because it was so new. They were astonished. It was really weird for them because they had to, it was physically very demanding to be in these machines and still, you know, pretend to be easy and light. And they were a bit scared. There is one, I think Sandra Bullock says that she's in this light box, literally, it's this here. And the camera is literally moving towards her, this robot, which is really, I mean, it moves incredibly fast. And the camera is moving right into her face. And she's just, I mean, her comment was, I mean, if there's anything going wrong and this camera just smashes into my face, there's nothing I can do. So they were a bit intimidated by the technology, yet also they were really, especially when it comes to this here, they really liked the fact, they were really fond of the fact that it was such an immersive experience. That's if that answers your question a little bit.
Just a comment, all of the technology
Sound off the microphones.
The technology is wonderful. Can you hear me now? I mean, it's mind-blowing. And I observed, though, that it's all used to show something that a human can very much identify with, being alone, completely helpless, at the mercy of forces. We all can identify with that from the time we're a baby and are separated from our mothers, right? Yeah. So, I mean, we need other people, we need safety. And so all the technology is representing for us this basic human need.
Yeah, that's a great observation. Yes, it kind of, all this technology is used to then project back to the very human state, right? Yeah, that's a great note. Let me add one little thing to that. I think it's also, I'm not showing this because I'm really intrigued by the technology. I told you that, but I'm not a technology buff just for the sake of the technology. I find it really amazing that they use this technology in the examples I showed, especially the second and the third one, to create, aesthetical experiences that are so immersive that we are touched by them. So literally we use the technology in order to convey a story and to convey a feeling. And exactly, yeah, I totally agree.
Obrigado. Eu queria perguntar se existe um roteiro pelo caminho que vai ser percorrido nesse espaço arquitetônico, né? Porque quando você faz um plano traveling, por exemplo, naquele filme Arca Russa, que ele é longo e não tem corte, você tem um roteiro, um guia, né? Por mais que eles soubessem que esse espaço da explosão, que ela ia rodar, tinha que ser construído para ela estar ali, isso já tinha uma pré-concepção? Você tem alguma informação disso ou não?
Absolutely. I kind of skimmed over that because otherwise it would have taken too long to talk. So I thought, well, basically previs being the next step of storyboarding. So this movie has been completely, like every pixel of this movie has been planned years in advance, and every camera move, everything that's happening has been designed in 3D space. So it's literally a 3D version of the storyboard. They have mapped out every movement of the camera, how the actors are going to move. it's an animated movie completely, and then they kind of also added in the actors' faces literally, but it's an animated movie. So yes, everything in this movie has been completely planned. So there's a storyboard that shows everything, if that was the question. You mean what performance of how the actors interact? Oh, that's actually a very good question. Sorry, I didn't get it what you meant exactly. It's a very good question. There is a nice scene where the two of them are in. Here. In order to shoot this, they realized really quickly, actually, that if everything is pre-planned in the computer, and then they just more or less run a playback on set where the machine moves the camera, the machine moves the light, the machine moves the actor, and the actors should then perform exactly as it has been planned by the animators, it was a problem, actually, because there is some intuition, and the actors have their own timing and micro timing. So what they had to create for this in order to work, which made things even more complicated, they created a playback engine for basically all this data that they had gathered, which would be the kind of the playback notation, if you will. They created a system where they could, in real time, have like a speed knob, and while this was playing back, they could react in real time and change the speed of the playback of what the machines are doing in order to react to what the actors were doing.
Bom, eu primeiro queria agradecer, eu não sabia de nada disso sobre esse filme. Quando eu assisti, eu fiquei intrigadíssima. Eu digo, caramba, como é que eles fizeram essa câmera exatamente nesse trecho onde ela se perde? E eu fiquei, assim, muito feliz que tu tenha trazido para a gente. Na tua fala, eu vi duas coisas que me intrigaram. Uma, na hora que tu falas realidade aumentada e realidade virtual. Tive uma pequena impressão de que tu usava como conceito, como sinônimo, essas duas. E aí eu queria ver qual é a diferença que tem aí. E a segunda questão é, a gente tem aí sendo desenvolvido uma obra que a gente pode dizer obra-prima, ou um momento fantástico, inovador do cinema, e a gente tem aquela outra experiência da dança, né, demonstrada ali como, para mim, uma obra também, quer dizer, uma obra especial, um momento especial mesmo, do uso dessa tecnologia. Eu entendo que todas essas tecnologias só são possíveis, elas só aparecem porque a nossa mente que está trazendo isso para fora, então é tudo resultado do que a gente constrói em termos de conhecimento, então ela tanto está ali, quanto faz parte do que a gente pensa, quanto modifica a nossa relação com o mundo, então, quer dizer, é parte mesmo do nosso ambiente, né, a nossa ecologia transformada. Então, qualquer tecnologia vai ter essa base, essa conexão com o humano, com o que é o ser humano, né? Agora, ela está ali transformando, a partir dela se transforma uma coisa que nós queremos transformar e que, ao mesmo tempo, a gente contribui para fazer aquela coisa. Então, esse feedback, esse looping, acontece tanto no fazer a tecnologia, quanto naquilo que se vê nesse filme, essa ideia de looping que tu traz para a gente. A pergunta, primeiro, aquelas duas questões colocadas, né, e a pergunta que eu entendo assim, principal, o que de fato é trazido dessa relação de looping, né, desse humano que recria nesse ambiente, nesses aspectos que a gente pode chamar especiais do cinema, que eu não sei se é arte, e daquela obra de dança, que eu também não sei se é arte, né? Então, queria entender mais ou menos como é que tu vê essa relação desses objetos que tu mostra. Não sei se eu fui clara, provavelmente eu não fui, porque também não está claro para mim a questão. Dá para entender o que eu falei?
I can try anyways. So your first question, that was really simple. It was, AR and VR, are they used interchangeably? No, they aren't, obviously. Virtual reality, okay. Virtual reality means something that literally encapsulates you. So hence we have to use these goggles in order to fully immerse in the virtual space. Whereas augmented reality means something that is projected onto our vision of the reality that we see as kind of like an augmentation to it. Like there's like adding a layer of information to it. That is augmented reality, and an example would be Google Glass, for example. That's augmented reality, whereas the Oculus Rift is virtual reality because you literally have to immerse in the space. Okay. The technology loop. I'm not sure if I understood the question completely. You kind of asked, like, what is the advantage of that feedback loop? And but you asked many things. You also asked what is maybe the reason of it all, and why are we doing this as a species, and why are we doing this with the technology? Why there are a lot of questions that obviously I don't have answers to. I'm thinking about them a lot though. And that is actually one of the main reasons why I am dealing with technology so much, is because I'm really intrigued by why are we doing this as a species. It's really weird. I mean, there's a couple, and that's actually, if somebody wants to talk about that, I'm very happy to discuss that. It's like literally, why are we building this technology as a species, and where does that lead us? And because we don't follow like some kind of plan. It seems to be in us that we are intrigued by this technology and we build it. And why are we uploading all our heritage, all our knowledge, all our information into this cloud that we built, or into this machine that we built? It's like a nervous system that spans our globe. And why are we doing this? That's a really interesting question. I have no idea. And then what is the surplus value maybe, or what is the advantage of that as a artistic tool? I also don't have a simple answer, obviously, but I think it's the curiosity. I mean, human beings, they want to try out new things, and they want to see. And yesterday we learned about artification. That is basically turning something ordinary into something extraordinary, and whatever they can find, they might use then. And I think that might be an answer why we are using this in order to create new. I propose this answer as like a test of an answer.
Falta só aquela questão, existe alguma diferença de valor artístico, entre aspas, valor, entre aquela produção da dança e essa aqui do cinema?
Oh, okay. Well, I would say that would be a personal, like there's no objective answer. Obviously, that might be a personal answer. I'm not judging them by any, no, obviously not. I think you can think of Hollywood movies whatever you want, and you can think of, it's like, obviously also Avatar is a movie that is highly questionable, and like, or as in like, of artistic value. Let's say it's a movie that you like or you don't, but still you can acknowledge the fact that they pushed the use of technology in order to create new visual experiences. So it's an example for that mostly. I'm not judging the artistic value of the pieces I showed. I'm just showing how you can use this technology in order to create new realms of experience. That was my point. And yeah, I can later at a coffee, I can tell you which one I like better.
Yes.
Okay, I don't know if what I'm gonna say now is gonna be meaningful after this speech, but okay, I'm gonna try. Well, two things. One, I think that I share with you that curiosity about why are we doing this. And the ones that know me a little bit better know that I was part of JEEP, I was part of this art and technology thing, but I was always like one step back, because first about the movie, the Gravity, it's impressive what they did, but at the same time I was just wondering, and I was just thinking about how much effort the human being put into it, you know? Because, okay, technology, it's wow. But to make all that, there was a huge team working on that. And I think it's more impressing what they did than the technology. And at the same time, the second team, the actors, they need to be like brilliant to do what they did and have years of experience to be able uh, to to performance like this, right? So I was thinking about that. I was listening all these things about technology, but I was just um, I was more curious about the human efforts in the end. And the second part, it's about the dance. That it's beautiful what you showed us, but I don't know. For me, it could be much more intense if I was there. You know, like seeing the dance there. I don't know. I really would like to understand why we need to get into this technology world when when experiencing the reality could be so much sensitive. So sorry. I was just thinking.
Well, thank you. Great questions. First of all, the human effort obviously is considerable and amazing on this movie. There has been an armada of VFX designers, VFX artists, and compositors and 3D designers working to create this world in Gravity. I think 2 or 3 years, 200 artists or more, like in the basements of London Soho post-production houses. They built this. Yeah, the human effort obviously is not to be neglected for sure. And the other question is really interesting. The value of the virtual experiences versus the real experience. It's a very valuable question, a very valid question, obviously. And I think what is to be kept in mind is that this all leads, or this all points in the direction of experiencing these visual realms in a very immersive environment, which we don't have here right now. We have a very kind of old school projection, which is very small. The lights were way too bright. Already, if you had seen Gravity in the cinema, like with the 3D glasses, like in an IMAX projection or something, it already would lead there, where you really feel so immersed in this experience that you think you are there. And this is literally what it's all about. And all this, the whole virtual reality thing, that this wave that is coming at us now, it's all about that we create realms of experience that literally take us there or completely suck us in. To the extent that we think this is almost real or real. Obviously, there is a huge, and that's also something I want to point out to your talk yesterday, that is really interesting, that once you use technology in order to view the world, there is the screen, there is a projection, there is something, and that is actually an abstraction of reality, which actually takes you away from the things. It's not haptical, it's not sensual. It always has to go through the brain. We have to process it. So that is a total valid point. It's although there are some efforts of trying to bridge that gap. Actually, I've been it has been the most immersive experience of my life when it comes to technologically immersive experiences. There is a simulator, like a bird simulator. It's more like a hawk simulator, where you lie on a robot, like a bird, and you wear these virtual reality glasses, and you have a fan in your face. You have ear goggles on, and you hear the wind blowing, and that robot literally reacts to you moving. Like literally, you can move your wings and flaps, and then it will tilt, and you're lying on this thing, and it literally, I stepped off that thing, and I was so high. The experience was so real. I was so high, like a little boy that just stepped off a carousel. I was like, that was amazing. So I think the trick is to combine these visual stimuli with actual haptical stimuli and then other things, also the ears, obviously, then these experiences can actually be maybe augmented to real realities. And there are tests about this, like how people, I'm pretty sure people will get addicted to that and they will want to be in this virtual world more than in, like people are addicted to the internet and television and stuff. So yeah, to answer that question, I think in order to create truly immersive experiences, we have to build environments that address all our senses. But yet, I couldn't agree more that after a day in front of the computer, that what I really need is like to touch someone. Like, yeah, of course.
Agora a gente vai para a última pergunta, Fernando Fogliano, e encerramos o momento de hoje.
Essa questão que circulou agora me pareceu da maior importância, porque a gente vê exatamente a importância da tecnologia em contar histórias, né? Então vamos pensar que contar histórias foi uma invenção cultural da maior importância, é o que a gente faz o tempo inteiro. Tem dois tipos de histórias que a gente pode contar, das coisas que realmente aconteceram e das coisas que a gente pode imaginar que poderiam ter acontecido ou que acontecerão. Esse é talvez o que a gente não se dá conta, mas a maior parte do tempo a gente faz ficções, não é? E alguns estudiosos da literatura e ficam se questionando por que a gente faz tanta ficção, né? E a ficção parece ser uma estratégia evolutiva mesmo, que nos permite experimentar na segurança aqui do meu local, sem ter que me expor necessariamente, ao mesmo tempo experimentar e imaginar e dar asas à imaginação, porque, terminar com uma frase talvez de efeito, porque o ventre onde se gesta a realidade é a ficção. Então, por que a gente gosta tanto de ficção? Por que esse filme é tão importante no sentido de nos fazer imaginar alguma coisa que é um futuro, sei lá, se o planeta não acabar, a gente já tem uma estação espacial, a gente já tem um monte de coisas lá fora. O planeta, daqui a alguns milhões de anos, não vai estar aqui. Se a gente tem a capacidade de racionalidade, de antecipação, a gente, de alguma maneira, está se preparando para o dia que a gente não estiver aqui. A viagem para Marte já é quase uma realidade, se fala no noticiário. Então, eu fico pensando que interessante que foi ver o bafo esqueci o nome da atriz, e a ansiedade dela, e como eu me sentiria naquela situação se eu fosse embarcar numa viagem para ser um colono em Marte daqui a alguns anos, né? Então eu acho que, assim, tentando colocar um ponto, por que a gente faz isso? Porque é ficção, e ficção é tão importante quanto falar da realidade. Aliás, fazer ficção é uma maneira de falar da realidade, né? Paradoxalmente, a gente não inventa a ficção desconectada da realidade, ela nos apoia a experimentar possibilidades de realidade.
Acho que de repente na próxima mesa a gente vai ter um tempo de fazer mais perguntas, de repente. Alex. Quer comentar com relação ao Fernando? Não, tem tempo sim, pode falar.
Well, also, thanks. Great remark. Fantastic. Also, I couldn't agree more. And I think there is a reason why fiction and science are so closely related, science fiction, as it were. No? And quite often in science fiction, things are then thought about that later become reality because people get inspired by it and then actually build it. I mean, if you look at iPads or whatever. Yeah, I totally agree. Why are we doing this? Because it's a means of telling a story. But I mean, that was a very elaborate statement of yours. I don't have so much to add. Yeah, no, but thank you.
Bom, obrigado pela presença de todos agora. A gente vai abrir fechar para o almoço e vamos tentar retornar para começar no horário. Quem vai estar mediando é a Silvia Laurentes, pela parte da tarde, as mesas. E é um dia que tem mais pessoas, então vamos tentar cumprir os horários. Então vamos tentar voltar às 1h30, ok? Obrigado e boa tarde. Eu tenho muitas perguntas para o Alexandre.